Miranda here. I'm excited to talk to you about mum guilt, or for our American colleagues, mom guilt. Hashtag mom guilt. Worried about my makeup there. And I've actually been thinking about this topic for about 18 months. And that's as long as the mindset group has been going. But the reason I've been holding back in talking about this is because, you know, when you just don't quite know whether I just don't know whether I'm the expert in this area. But something really clicked with me this weekend. I've been reading a book by a lady called Jessica Heron. She's the CEO of one of the big MLMs, multi-level marketings, and she what they call Stella and Dot jewelry. Apparently it's a great company. And I've been reading her autobiography stroke personal development book. And some things that she said have really, really connected the jigsaw pieces for me together and made me realise that actually I have been tackling mum guilt really well, but I didn't quite know how I was doing it. And now I know I've gained consciousness. So I hope you can see. Can you see my amazing diagram, you guys? Yes! I'll come on to explain a little bit about what those little dudes are behind. But first of all, I want to preface this by saying I know a lot of you guys struggle with mum guilt. And I think the main reason that we struggle with mum guilt is that we were the ones who initiated this aesthetics world. We literally, it wasn't our partners, it wasn't our friends, it wasn't anyone putting pressure on us. We put our hand up and said, ooh, this aesthetics world looks quite exciting. Oh, I'll find £1,000, I'll go off for a day and I'll get into aesthetics. And it'll be good for me because I'll be growing and changing and improving my world. So there you go. That's a bit of, actually, I dealt with it like quite well there. Tim's there, so I don't need to feel mum guilt. And so we have elected to come into this wonderful world of aesthetics. And so it's all on us. Whereas with our NHS work, I think we still feel guilty sometimes, but you know, our partners know that we've got to be in the NHS and, you know, everyone's got to work. But I think aesthetics holds a particularly strong internal emotional objection within ourselves because we put our hand up, we elected to do it. And also, the thing about aesthetics and having your own business, of course, is that it drips into every area of life, doesn't it? So you could be happily in the park with your kid and suddenly, you know, Jane from Droylsden texts you and says, oh, I've got a black eye because of my Botox. And now you're like, oh my God, my child is literally saying, swing me, mum, swing me. And Jane from Droylsden is saying, but whatever your name is, Lauren, but Lauren, you've given me a massive black eye and I wanted to look hot for my first date back since my divorce, and now I have a black eye. So you are torn and pulled. So you're being pulled from pillar to post. And the reason you're being pulled is because inherent within the idea of guilt of any kind, is a notion that you could and indeed should have your reality different. So you are naturally thinking, I'm supposed to be pushing, you know, little Johnny, and now, you know, Debbie from Droylsden is talking about her side effect. You actually believe, or else you wouldn't feel guilty, that you could have it a different way. There is a parallel universe where you do dedicate yourself fully to your child. The reason I bring this up is because if you think about, I often think about, especially, you know, I went back with Jasper, my eldest, who's just in the shed there. I went back after work with him, after giving birth to him, after 2.5 months. And I was literally, you know, there in board meetings, you know, answering the phone whilst breastfeeding and the whole shebang. And we did 70-hour weeks. And I often used to think of the women in paddy fields who literally have their children strapped to them and they're still, you know, getting the rice up, whatever you do, harvesting the rice from the paddy fields. And those women, I mean, obviously I don't know anything about them, but I'm guessing they don't really have a great deal of mum guilt. And I think that's probably because they are surviving. They don't feel like they put this on their child. It's just their reality. It's that family's reality that they have to harvest that rice in order to survive. Whereas for us, we feel like, oh, look at us thriving with our aesthetics when we should be looking after and dealing with this other reality. In a way, we think we ought to really be with our children more and more, and there is a world where we are, perfect mums and we're stay-at-home mums or whatever. So this leads me on to my little analogy. So I was thinking, how do these competing values, because that's basically what it is. We have multiple different things in our lives that we are saying to ourselves or externally are valuable. And I was thinking, what kind of analogy could I do for this? And it reminded me a bit of, when you watch the David Attenborough films and there's a load of salmon, I don't know. There's many salmon trying to they go against the stream, don't they? And they jump up waterfalls. I don't even know what they're doing. Salmon. They just love a bit of waterfall jumping action. And they're trying to thrive and strive and get to that next level and survive. But the way they doing that is that it's quite sort of torturous, isn't it? There's lots of different competing salmon. They're probably punching each other in the way. Get out of my way, Sammy Salmon. I am Susan Salmon. I'm going to win the race to the top of the waterfall. And this is what happens, I believe, with our values about what we should have in our life, what we value in our life. So in this analogy, you might have, I don't know if you can see me there. I'm just stepping over Tim's massive, I don't know if you can see this, his massive, whatever this is, some kind of gym equipment. You might have here, for example, kids. This is one of your values. Then you might have your business, your aesthetics. Then you might have your friends. Then you might have being healthy. So you get the idea. There are different competing salmons. I remember when I was depressed, basically 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, the healthy one was really not a value of mine at the time. We were eating ready meals, and I was just really in survival mode. It got to the point where we literally bought a second microwave because we just didn't, I'll talk to myself now, just didn't really value health. I wasn't trying for my body to be healthy. I was just surviving, and there was only two things in my life at the time: work and kids. That was pretty much it, and a sprinkling of friends and sort of other, family commitments and things like that. And so I only really had a couple of salmon. The problem was I didn't have a salmon enough that actually brought me enough joy. And there's a whole other trillion Facebook lives in how I ended up in that bad mental health state. But the point is, I wasn't valuing health at the time. Now, another value of yours might be, for example, you might really value the state of your house, how well your house looks. And all the time with these competing salmon, they're all trying to get up this waterfall. They're all trying to get into wherever salmon go, into the lake or the sea or whatever. And you in your life have only so many salmon that you can back. There are only so many, it's like a bit like horse racing. There's only so many horses that you can back. And if you choose to have too many salmon, too many horses in your race, that will mean that you have the tug of guilt. It might be guilt, it might be resentment, it might come across as overwhelm because you've just got too many things in your life. But either way, you're going to come across some bad states. And so the way that you tackle mum guilt, in my opinion, is to get really real about this fact and to realise that there are only so many horses, salmon, you can back. I wish I'd chosen the horse analogy now. Would have been so much simpler. There are only so many horses that you can back in your life, and you need to get super conscious about which ones you back. And then, my friend, you need to start shedding a couple of the horses that at the moment are, let's go back to the salmon analogy. At the moment, there are many salmon trying to jump up and grab your attention. They're jumping out. So for example, you might have, volunteering at the local school. Let's say that before you started your aesthetics business, you always did loads of volunteering at the school, and now you're on that email list and everyone expects you, and there's like you feel it's like a social pressure to always go and do the reading every Wednesday. Or you might have, you might be a part of your local photographic society and you were really into that for years, and now you are the secretary of the photographic society, but that means that once a week you go and you spend an hour and a half on a Monday night in the photographic society. You might have a friend, a friend called Laura, who is a bit of a hot mess, and she rings you at least once a fortnight for an hour and a half, and you listen to Laura's hot mess life and you try and counsel her. And at the end of it, you feel quite drained and you've got nothing left to give. So what I am proposing is a new way of life. It's quite a big change where you actually say, do you know what? I'm only really going to properly back 3 or maybe 4 things in your life. Let me tell you a story. About a year, this time last year, some of you might remember, I was on a mission to get more friends locally. So we moved to where we live about 5 years ago, something like that. And we always had friends in Manchester and, friends all around the country, but we didn't really have any friends here. Well, we didn't have any friends here. Then when Jasper started school a couple of years ago, that really changed and we started to make little bits of friendship, but nothing that I ever nurtured. And I had a story. The story was that I was far too busy with work and, I just couldn't possibly nurture any of these friendships. And I realised after a while, this was complete bullshit. And actually, I felt worried about getting out of my comfort zone in order to nurture these friendships. So about a year ago, I was like, and I declared it on this group, and I was like, right, I'm going to try and make friends. And then in the new year, I had an experience one Saturday where three events happened in one Saturday that all came from this friend nurturing. I had a children's party, I had a play date, and then in the evening I went for a night out. And all 3 things were really, really fun. And particularly the night out, amazing, loved it. But what I realised is that actually, as a result, I wasn't able to do my beloved content. I call this content, like this kind of thing, Facebook Lives, doing my Instagram stories, my posts, my, something into the Warriors, whatever. That is one of my big salmons. You guys are a salmon to me. I absolutely love it. It's a lifeblood for me. I basically only had 3 salmons in my life. Salmons, I don't know. One is family, my immediate family. The second is work, Skin Viva Training. And the third is you guys. Seriously, that's how important you are to me. It's a massive, massive part of my life. And I don't really have a great deal of time for much else. But what it made me realise this one Saturday is, because I was spending so much time investing in the friendships, these new friendships, I actually had less time to do the thing that I loved, which was my posting and doing little bits and pieces in amongst my children, who I look after on a Saturday, obviously. And it got me thinking and actually prioritising and thinking, wow, maybe actually I don't want to go wild nurturing friendships as much as I thought. Maybe that's not such an important goal for me. And that's when I got conscious about the salmons that I actually want to nurture. So as I said, I have these 3 salmons. So obviously you won't have the Mindset Warriors. That won't be one of your salmons. That would be weird. But let's say, so let's say my 3 salmons are Mindset Warriors, kids, and the business, and Skin Viva the business. And now that I am conscious of that changes everything. And this is where the mum guilt comes in. If you feel that hideous tug when, little Johnny is saying, Mum, please push me on the swing, and you meanwhile are dealing with, Debbie from Geraldton's hematoma. If you have thought to yourself, right, I am going to shed out of my life that friend who moans at me and drains me once every 2 weeks for an hour and a half. I'm also I'm sorry, but I'm just not volunteering at the school anymore. It doesn't bring me the joy it used to. I'm not going to be the secretary of the Photographic Society anymore. I am just going to attend the Photographic Society because I still want to invest in that creativity. If you've got conscious like that, and then you also shed shit stuff that you definitely actually don't want, like Netflix, or like obsessively looking at your competitors' Facebook pages of an evening, or getting embroiled in beef on aesthetics Facebook groups, or responding endlessly to this troll who actually is quite nicely enhancing your algorithm, and you could probably just leave them to spin out for a bit and, you know, they'll do their magic, you'll get a new client. I don't know whether you know what I'm talking about, but we've had various chats about this. If you get conscious about the guff that you don't need in your life, and maybe you do want Netflix in your life, maybe you absolutely love films, it's an important part of your relaxation, then fine, but get it onto one of your fish. Label it as one of your 3 to 4 big fish that you want to back. And then, this is where it becomes real. If, of an evening, once you have put the kids down, you spend, let's say they go down at 9 o'clock, I then spend 3 hours working, interacting with you guys, doing Facebook Lives, whatever. If you spend just 1 hour before you go to bed at 10 o'clock, if you spend 1 hour consciously working on your aesthetics business, which you have identified as one of your 3 fish, your horses, whatever you want to say, then when it comes to the Saturday morning, when your kids are saying, Mum, can we go to the cinema today, please? Or Mum, you know, get off your phone. Like someone said earlier on a post that their child says to them, Mum, I want to make an appointment to spend some time with you, which kind of broke her heart. But actually, I think there's something in that. We do need to be conscious and make blocks of time for the different things in our lives. We shouldn't just be a mum the whole time. Well, you can be, but that means you've only really got one fish. And I don't think that's necessarily healthy. I think you guys are in business. If you love your aesthetics, you will need to nurture it. That is a reality. So if you can spend that one conscious hour at night doing your aesthetics, getting back to your clients, maybe writing your posts for the next day, your marketing posts, so that you can enhance your business, so that then you can actually make some proper money from it. And then maybe you might be able to reduce your hours in the NHS so that you can spend more time with your child and pick them up on, you know, from school on a Wednesday and a Thursday. So the point is, instead of watching Netflix, instead of listening to drony old, you know, Doris from Droylsden who chews your ear off but you unconsciously let her do it, instead of, you know, going on like a game on your phone or something just to numb yourself, instead of doing those things, get conscious, spend an hour on your aesthetics, and then in the Rubik's Cube of your life, that hour will come back to you that you won't have to spend on Saturday morning. And then you can spend that consciously with your child. So even though your children are in bed at 9 o'clock, think about it. You now need to knuckle down on one of your other fish, only one, and I'm going to suggest your aesthetics business, so that you can spend time with your children when they are awake. And I promise you, if you can be strict and compartmentalize your time on your phone, so for example, I never take my phone upstairs with me to the bedtime routine. That's time with the kids. I mean, I'll be honest, it's not the most divine time with them because it's quite fraught. But the point is, I'm not checking my phone while I'm trying to bath them and things like that. So if you can do these compartmentalizing, and on a Saturday, say for example, chunk your Saturday up, yes, make an appointment with your child. You know, let's say that the first hour you get up before the kids, you spend with your phone dealing with clients. Then the second 2 hours, 3 hours is spent with your kids snuggling on the sofa, watching TV, whatever. Then say to them, look, this is an hour where you guys need to play. I'm going to be spending this doing little bits of business. So sort of pepper your day with bits with the kids, most of the time with the kids, if that's how you want to do it, and then some time on your phone, and do it like that, sandwich it like that. But for every moment that you are rejecting, you know, Doris from Droylsden to choose your ear off your friend, or, you know, Netflix, or games that you play, or, you know, destructive things like, I don't know, speaking to destructive people, or going on Facebook groups, or, you know, like just getting angry, you know, with someone, or whatever these wasted times are, use that time for your business, and then you will have more time with your child. But the most important thing, guys, about this whole mum guilt thing, and it's the reason actually I don't struggle with mum guilt that much, is because I know that I basically only got 3 things in my life: work, kids, and Tim, and you guys, Mindset Warriors. And then of course I have friends, and you know, of course I love my friends. I love, you know, my friend Lou comes and sees me a lot, and I go down to London from time to time, and you know, I do see have play dates and things like that, but it doesn't take up a large volume for me, and it doesn't make me feel that I'm somehow taking away from my children, or taking away from my business, or taking away from the Mindset Warriors. I have a good priority, and I don't need to worry about all the fish coming up to try and bite me, because I know which fish I am willing to back. All right, my darlings, hope that makes sense. Don't know whether I slightly regret that fish analogy. Should have gone with the horses. Make sure you back the horse that you love. There should be 3 or 4 in your life. And if they are, you know, Pilates or making beautiful food or really taking care of your house, whatever those things are, more power to you, but get conscious about it. And don't just blindly sleepwalk into everyone else taking a piece out of you. These are your values. Choose 3 or 4 crucial ones and go with them, and drop the rest of the dross. The dross doesn't need you, because you're probably not showing up for the dross very well anyway. So make sure you drop it, and then spend that time on your business so that you can be freed up and compartmentalized when you are actually with your kids. Right, my loves, I hope that's been of some use, and please, this is my page, so you can share this. Share it. Tag a friend who you think might find this useful and might need to get more conscious about which fish she backs. All right, take care, loves. Bye.